Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yeah, and we are with Joshua Whalen with Whalen and the Willows. Welcome.
Awesome. I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I am excited to talk about redemption. Redemption is a journey of an album. I mean, you've got so much going on there. It's very intense, but it's lovely. It feels like very important work.
Thank you. I'm so glad that comes across because there absolutely is an intensity to that record, and it truly is a deep dive into, a very personal journey. So intense, but I also agree that I really feel it is important work, and something that I really had to do.
Because you have a song about Odysseus and another intense work,
Yes.
that I enjoy, but if you, I might even just start by saying, could you just tell us a little bit about the story, and then we'll dive into the specific songs, because there's so much going on.
Yes. Well, absolutely. So, the journey, the record, it starts off in a place that actually, has been my life for, a majority of time. I had a real rough childhood with a lot of abuse, and I've dealt with terrible anxiety my entire life, and just spending a lot of time in this dark, murky place. And I suffered, well, I don't know if suffered's I've been an alcoholic for starting age 14 up until I'm a year and 5 months sober today.
Oh, congratulations.
So, the record starts in that dark place that I spent, a majority of my life in. But during this pandemic, all of us struggled immensely, isolation, being shut out from the world, dealing with something that we, I think most of us never thought we would have to in our lifetime. But I do think one of the blessings of that for me was, spending a lot of time with myself, and my family. I have a wife and daughter I love dearly. And being stuck at home and spending time with them, and I started realizing, what am I doing with my life? I've got all this time I'm spending with my family, and I realize, I'm never here. I'm never at home. I'm always at the bar, or even if I am home, I'm lit up and not really here like I should be. And I decided really to make a huge change in my life and get sober. And for me, getting sober and getting right was facing my past, my demons, these things that have been keeping me down and just torturing my soul. And so the big middle part of that record, a lot of that, it's exploring those depths and asking, who am I? Where have I been? Where do I want to go? We get this one life, and what am I doing with it? And then when we get to the end of the record, a lot of those songs were written for my daughter, who really, for me, there's a song at the end called Guiding Light, and I know we'll kind of get into some specifics, but really for me, my daughter has been my savior, that pulled me out of this place and, made me wake up, given me a sense of purpose than myself. And that's kind of landed me to where I am today. I'm just so hopeful. I'm sober. I've never been so ready to get out into the world and to do things and to pursue my music the way I've always wanted to, because this truly is important to me, and it's my calling and my purpose, and I'm just so ready to get after it. And it's amazing what I had to go through to get here, but I'm just so happy to be on the other side, and there's still difficulties and there's still bad days, and pain is part of human life, but I feel just so much better in such a better state of mind than I've ever been in my entire life.
Funny, because you talk about having one life to live, and yet I feel like you have, I mean, this is gonna, like, you've been reborn, like you have found a whole new life. And I feel like with songs like with the Whispering Pines and the, kind of coming into ghosts. And when I was listening to the song, it's like, well, is it the fear of the ghost, or is it the fear of becoming the ghost?
Oh, I love that. Great question. And really, a fear of both of it, like that idea of, am I becoming these ghosts? Am I this darkness? Like, they scare me so much, and yet, is that who I am? It really is terrifying to sit back and look at your life and try to make the distinction between those two things. And so it's amazing that I love being able to talk about this music and see how people take it. And, I think you hit the nail on the head there, but in both ways, really. It's like there's these phantoms and there's these ghosts, and I'm scared of them. But what's truly terrifying is that who I am? Or are these just phantoms, And, I think what I learned really is that they are me, but not the true me, they're just fragments of my past, in fragments of things that I felt, and that I don't have to be afraid of them being there, because I know that that's all they are. If that, hopefully that comes across.
Yeah. I liked this man, where you have kind of give us the version of what you might become or whatever if you continue that road. And it kind of reminded me of the ghost of Christmas past or whatever, like leading you to whatever, like, here, do you want this? Do you want to go, kind of what Anne alluded to. And I just thought, what a gift that you were clear enough to take and go, okay, yep. And I like to hear, like, I'm awake, I woke up, I turned it around, whatever.
Yes. Well, I love and absolutely, that song is a real pivotal song for me, because it, I was in a place where I was teetering, where I could see that I was on the right direction, but also, yes, I love that. I love that you got that from that song, because that's absolutely it. Like, who is this man? I have a choice now. Who's it going to be on the other end of this? Love that.
Well, and I think it's interesting to find out that that if you started drinking at 14, that you were not sober your adult life.
My whole adult life, I've never been sober.
Well, and then you kind of to wake up one day and, to think that I don't need to know the backstory, but, if you had a rough childhood, I'm going to assume it was the adults in your life around that made that. And suddenly you do look like the person who, suddenly you are a grown ass man. You know what I mean? Like, and to see that, what a pivotal time, and what to go back to it.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love that grown ass man. Like, yeah, I am, but I'm the same, right? I'm becoming, in a way, I'm becoming what caused it. It really is that for me, and it's so painful, because we see this in so many lives and in so many people. There's things like addiction and, poverty, and in these things that seem to follow and repeat and recreate itself generationally. And so it is for me, it's like, how in the hell am I going to break this chain? And I have a daughter now, and I do not want to be responsible for, imposing that same darkness onto her. And so that's wonderful. I mean, really, yeah, it's we need to break that chain. And for me, it was like, it needs to happen now. Being a grown man, it's either now or never, really.
But I applaud the strength to recognize that. I mean, it's to a much different degree. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I see my mom, and I think sometimes I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I mean, not having just having more to do with the aging process than anything else. But to be able to embrace it and look at it, I mean, that takes a great strength. And yours is the best pandemic silver lining I've ever heard. I mean, it was an extreme time to be able to do that.
I was gonna,
Okay.
oh, you paused, Anne.
Yeah.
We lost you at, it was going to be, or it was an extreme time.
Yep. It was extreme time to be able to do that. So that, I mean, I applaud that. What an interesting pastime to do. I mean, a powerful time.
Yeah. No, I think, really, it's like kind of sometimes I think you just got to get hit in the face with reality hard sometimes, or for me, I think that was important where, there was just tremendous suffering. And because I'm the kind of person, and I try not, but I take so much suffering onto myself, like when people around me suffer, it tears me up inside. I have such a love for mankind, that it so I was so overwhelmed when all this was going on, and I got to a point where I almost couldn't handle it anymore. And then that's the realization that, wow, I'm not the stable person that I wish I was. And I do think in darkness there's always a silver lining, and it's hard to see. And for me, the pandemic was a dark place for all of us, but for me, it's like, okay, this maybe this is my opportunity to pull something good out of it, and I feel like I really was able to do that. And, of course, with the love of my wife and daughter, who I owe so much to. Um, yeah, so it is kind of funny, ain't it, sometimes how it takes tremendous darkness and turmoil to make good things happen. It's funny, life sometimes.
I also like to hear that you at the beginning saying you're ready to get out there, you're rearing and ready to go. And with this album, I saw something like you and your bandmate said you challenged yourself. Can you explain a little bit about that too, of what you brought to this that wasn't on Peaceful?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And and I will start by saying, we were so proud of Peaceful, and I love that record, and it was an important part of my life. But yeah, with this record, we really, I think the biggest thing was the intensity and rawness of these songs, and that we wanted to make it as authentic as possible. So we really challenged ourselves in the studio to get into that mind space, to be alive in that moment for each song. But also technically we challenged ourselves. We spent a lot of time rehearsing and building our musicianship in the pandemic. We had a lot of free time. And so when we were in the studio, we were like, let's push ourselves. So if we had an idea that we thought we couldn't execute it, we did that idea. And we found a way to execute it, because I really think that a lot of us fall short of our true potential, because of thinking that we can't make it, and so it's like, well, let's challenge ourselves that way too. And with this record, we told a story, which was a challenge for us, because it's like, well, how do we get from here to here to here to here? And we had all these songs and picking the right ones. And so we put ourselves in a lot of uncomfortable places and uncomfortable situations. And I can't believe the amazing things that came out of that, and I'm so fortunate to play with the musicians I play with. These are just tremendous people with such heart and love for what they do. And, I couldn't have done this without them. I really believe that. I could have maybe went and found, drummer A, bass player B, violin player C, and brought in, but it was these specific people in this group that made this happen. And they were all on board. They're like, let's make this record and let's push ourselves technically, mentally, creatively, in every which way. Let's make the best damn record that we can, because we all knew how important this was.
I was going to say, since it is such a personal story and you have such good bonds with these bandmates, I can imagine that helped fuel the passion and the mindset, because they probably were in that journey with you and saw what you got this past year and 5 months, and then like, we're with you, we're bringing it.
Yes, which was wonderful, because I totally felt that from them. Because we love each other. We do. We're like a family. And so I did feel from them, I think that they were happy for me and excited to see me finally become a healthy person, because I do think, we've been making music for some time, but I do think for them, it was maybe hurtful to see a lot of my self-destruction, I don't want to speak too much for them, but I imagine that was the case. And like Victoria Smith now is her name. I always say Torkelson. She was married recently, so I got to get into the habit. But her and I go way back, and she's seen, a lot of things I've went through, and seen me struggle, and seen me go through a lot of dark times. And she always had my back and stuck by my side and kept making music with me. And so I think for her, and talking with her, for her, I think it was an amazing experience to be a part of that, for me. But also, I don't want to tell too much of her story. That'll be a great thing for her to do. But I think she's kind of had some things in her life too, and so I think that also she was able to express herself in her journey through it as well. And I think that's what makes this record so amazing, is I wanted to tell my story, and I wanted to heal myself, but more importantly, I wanted to do it in a way that allows other people to use this record to heal themselves, because that's what music has done for me my whole life. My favorite artists, I don't think I would have survived if I didn't have music in my life. And what my favorite artist did for me was so important that I want to do that for other people, and I know our music's not for everybody, because that's just how music works, and that's the beauty of it. But for the people that need this music, I want it to translate into their lives. And I think that we were able to do that. I really do.
I think absolutely. And what I love is your song Redemption. To me, it is yet a dark song, and juxtapose that to the dark parts, which I think is so much of a lighter song. It's so much of a hopeful. But I think even when you're in a dark place, when I'm in a dark place, I'm going to be drawn to a song called The Dark Parts. So I think there's something you'll hit the right people.
Oh, good. Well, and I love that. And this has been, I'm just so excited talking to you two who have listened to the record and even now I'm feeling such excitement, because it's like, yes, I really think that, the things that you're picking up on are exactly the stuff. Because Dark Parts is actually a little bit of a more freeing song, because for me it was, being brave, like, I'm in this darkness, but I'm here and I'm facing it in there. And so I do hope that that's a song that people that are in those pivotal moments in their life can listen to and be like, okay, I'm ready. like he did it, I can do, can too,
Well, it's like this man is kind of the turning point, but the dark parts to me is kind of where hope enters the album.
Yes, I love that. You're exactly right, because that is in the songs after that. Yeah, there is a hopefulness in that song. Like that is for me the let it go. Let these demons go. Take a breath. You're here, you've arrived. And so thanks so much for you picked up on it. And that brings me tremendous joy.
That's good. That's good. Well, yeah, because it leads up to the guiding light, which it feels like a love letter to your new person and your album. I mean, the new person you've become. That's what they say.
It truly is a love letter. I love that. The guiding light. I found it. I'm on this. I've overcome this. Whether you want to call it evil or the bad guy. This. I've achieved. And I still have a lot of work to go, but I achieved what I wanted to achieve through this transformation, and it very much is, a love letter to my daughter, a love letter to the people that supported me. It's also this heroic, for the lack of a better term, ending to this epic. And yeah, I think, in that song for me, it was a lot of fun to do. It was the last song. And it's just, I really thought that everything came together just the way it was supposed to.
I like you give me the purpose to the pain that I know too. Like, I don't know why that pulls me, but just so it doesn't identify all of the things, but it gives us, the community, you get to help others, whatever there is meaning for this pain and whatever that anyone has gone through. I think that's such important words right there.
Yes, and I love that, and that's one of my favorite lyrics, because it's that, that duality and that balance, right? That like pain is okay, and we're all going to endure it. But when you have a greater purpose, then that pain doesn't drag you down. Instead, it becomes a tool. Like, what can I learn from this? How can I get better from this? And yeah, and I that's just kind of how I'm living my life now. When I get knocked down or pain comes, I'm like, good. What am I going to learn from this? Like, how can I use this to help myself or somebody else? And that's a game changer.
Yeah, just flip how you see it.
Perspective.
Yep. Well, the parkway is gonna be full. There's gonna be a lot of people that need to hear this or can relate and take that baggage. That's another line. I don't know if I'm gonna say it correctly, but the baggage is heavy. It can sink and drown, whatever. I was like, woo.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Great lyric from this man. Yeah. There's the baggage is there. And if you let it pile, you can sink and drown, or you can shoot the devil down. Right. And that's going to mean different things to different people, but you have a choice. Let it bring you down, or let it go and, achieve your own victory, whatever that means for you,
Well, and that recognition of sometimes the devil is within and sometimes it's an external.
Wonderful way to put. Yes. I love that. I might steal that if that's okay. That's really a good way to say it. But yeah, the devil is not always the same thing for everybody, right? It could be a toxic person in your life that you need to get away from, or, maybe a toxic job, or, or it could be, an addiction, or it could be, it's so many different things for so many different people, and I love the way, yeah, it can be internal, external. I love that.
And it's harder when it's internal, I think. But
it can be. I think it can be, not to downplay,
right.
Right. But yeah, because I think the hard part is, it's easy, I think, for a lot of us to look at someone else and be like, that person's a bad person in my life. But I think it's totally another thing to be like, I'm a bad person in my life, like I'm like my own bad guy, because we all are born with an ego, and sometimes, I know, like for me, it was real fragile, like protecting my ego, like getting through my ego was a huge part of this process. Like, hey, Joshua, it's okay. It's okay that you have weaknesses. It's okay to look at yourself and say, hey, there's a lot of bad things about me that I want to change, and that's okay. But an ego gets in the way a lot of times of that. So I think in a way you're right. The internal battles can be a lot more of a challenge.
Yeah, you can't just quit answering the phone call.
Oh, yes, exactly. You move to the other end of the world and that person's still with you. Yeah, that's exactly it. I love that. Yeah, you can't hang the phone up. That person's connected 24/7.
Right. Whether you want them to be or not. Yes.
Yes.
But it is to kind of get back to but when you come home to yourself, and I love that you have the Odysseus in it, because I'm a huge fan of mythology, and really I'm a huge fan of Ulysses, which is the Irish book made of anyways. It's
yes,
to come home to yourself is so much more. It's so rewarding. Yeah.
Yep. It's that journey, the great epic, the great journey, right? And yeah, and I'm a big fan too of mythology and parables, and like such, because there's always such an amazing lesson in it. And yeah, in Odessa, that definitely was when, and you picked up on it because you're a fan of the story, and that song really is kind of a retelling of that story in a way. I wrote it for my daughter.
Yeah.
In a way of like, I kind of wish that when I was 7 years old and going through this, like, I wish that somebody would have told me that. I don't know if I would have been ready for it then, but that was my mentality in that, is like, what is the one true important story that I'd like to leave my daughter, something that, when I'm long and gone and she feels alone, that she could put on, and hopefully other people, can put that on and hear what they need to hear.
Well, it made more powerful to me by the fact that it's a daughter, because I think that daughters don't always get the, you'll have moments of being a warrior, and it's okay.
Yes. And it's okay. And to do, and I love that, and I was drawn to the beginning lyrics, but of, Odysseus being tied to the mast of the ship, because, he wanted to, for people that don't know the story, like, to me, it's I get goosebumps thinking about it, but the sirens, the rest of everyone on the ship, plugged their ear right so that the siren song wouldn't lure them. But he wanted to hear it. He wanted to experience it. But being tied to the ship, the sirens didn't lure them in, they would lure people in and take their lives. And so for me, it's like, you have to live life that way. Be willing to be a warrior, be willing to see the sirens, to see what's real, because there is darkness in the world, but tie yourself to your ship and don't let that darkness pull you in, but see that, because that's part of life, and I hope I'm not getting too intense. I'm such an intense person, but I want my daughter to be that. you know, to be able to see what's truly there, but stay true to your ship and your journey and your adventure, and you're going to be fine, you know?
Oh, that's so beautiful, Joshua. Wow. I was gonna say, I don't think there's no such thing as too many feels. I think your excitement and intenseness is valuable for your messages and your music. So don't tamper it, please.
Good, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because, you know, you know, in my journey, and because it's like, you know, I'm going to honor my intensity and let it be what it is, you know, because I really do strongly feel for this music and for the people that listen to it and the people that it's brought me to, and the stories of other, like, it's just, oh, it just, yeah,
Yep.
it gets me fired up. It just gets me fired up.
Good. That's good. That's it's gonna be it's gonna be an exciting concert, as Heather says. I mean, I think it's how you prepare for something that is so authentic and so intense is impressive.
Well, thank you. And it's the show, I think a beautiful thing is going to happen in that theater this Saturday. I feel it. I feel it. And I just know that the people that are going to be there are the right people. And we're all of us in that room. It's going to be a special thing. And I'm counting down the days. I can't wait. I'm just so filled with joy for it.
We'll make sure to spell out that it's that Whalen and the Willows will be at the Parkway. Yep, I froze. Whalen and the Willows will be at the Parkway March 19th, Saturday, March 19th, for the release of Redemption. And folks, and it's it's going to be an intense show. It's going to be an awesome show. I can't wait for it. So that's fantastic. I will put this in the notes, but for folks who are just listening, where can people find you online?
Yes. So the best place to go is www.whalenandthewillows.com. Whalen's Whalen. And then we have, you know, all of our social media links from there. But, you know, really, Whalen and the Willows and Google should get you to, you know, your preferred platform. But our website is a great place to just keep up on everything Willows.
You got a lot of videos up there. You got a lot of fun stuff up there. So that's good.
Yeah. You know, we've been at this for, you know, a number of years and have been real blessed to make some really cool things. So yeah, there's a lot to check out on there.
Good. Well, you have made an intensely beautiful album. So thank you for doing it. I do think it will become the soundtrack to a lot of people finding their own redemption. So Joshua, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks. And this has been a true blessing. You too. Thank you for this so much. I'm so happy to be a part of this.